Welcome to the 5th tutorial for Motion Symphony 2.0. We just got finished with mirror data tables in the last tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to look at do not use tagging. Now this is an extremely important step. It's a way to curate the animations that you have. We go and record all of this mocap data and we don't necessarily want all of it. Maybe the person stumbled, or maybe the animation ended too early and there's not enough trajectory in the future, or maybe you just didn't like that start or stop or something like that. Maybe you've just got too much redundancy. So one really good example is we have a perfectly good run loop animation. Okay, and if we go to these animations here, you'll see that in between the starts and stops we have a run loop. But we've already curated this loop. I've actually made this a looping animation that I like. Preferably you would have it a bit longer. I've only got 2 cycles in this loop. I'd want 3 or 4 to be honest, but that's beside the point. So if we go to this animation here, it's actually not a bad idea to do not use the poses that are basically the same loop in between these starts and stops. And that's not always the case. Sometimes you want some variance, but generally when we're running straight, we want to use this loop. So there is another method that we're going to do later with cost multipliers, but we're going to learn about that later. For now, we're going to go through and cut some stuff out. You will also notice, now before I actually get started, that some of my animations, I have cut whole sections out where I was just resting in between the runs. And you'll see it a lot in these loops. So I get to the end of the loop and zoop, my character sort of teleports over there and zoop, teleports over there. This is junk animation, it's trash, we don't want it. We've also got T-poses, we don't want those. So we're going to use this method to get rid of all that stuff. If you noticed in the earlier tutorials, there were some times where the animation just got stuck. It was kind of this kind of stuff causing it. Yeah, let's get to it. I'll start with these ones because they're really obvious. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to name this track here Do Not Use. This is purely a cosmetic name. It doesn't really matter. We can add more tracks. It's just for organizational purposes. And I'm going to start marking out animations that I don't want. So we'll go to add tag section and choose tag do not use, and we can drag it to cover the sections that we don't want. So I don't want this part, and to be honest, I could extract trajectory of the past here. Actually, I might do that. So if I go to my settings here, I'm going to do past trajectory and I'm going to choose extrapolate. If I hit pre-process again, let's see. Actually, no, it's not going to work because we started off in a T-pose. So yeah, we actually don't want this first bit of animation for the first bit until that trajectory sorts itself out. So about here. So up until this point, we don't want any of this animation. So we're going to mark that as do not use. And you'll see when I mark a section of animation as do not use, once I pre-process it, it comes up here as do not use when you're scrubbing through. You can see searchable, do not use, searchable, do not use. You get the idea. So let's just go through quickly and mark up bad sections. So obviously I'm coming to an end here, and the trajectory starts to crumple up and get all useless here. So I actually need to mark it as do not use from about this point. So I can copy paste and I'll mark it from there all the way until we get a good trajectory coming back the other way. You could add the start in, but I've got good start animation, so I'm not going to. I'm going to just start at about here. Once that trajectory has actually gotten some distance, pull that out to there. Now this can be a tedious process, but it is the best way to polish your animation set, especially if you have mocap clips. You're going to be doing a lot less do not use marking if you have cut clips, because you don't have enough animation to be marking stuff out in the first place, and it's already a curated animation set. So we'll keep playing there. It becomes a junk animation about here actually. Paste that there. All that's do not use, and I will do it until he's running again. Okay, about there. And we got to stop it here. I'm going to fast forward through most of this because you probably get the idea. This can take a long time to do, but it's pretty straightforward how to do it once you get the idea. So this is just marking out bad sections and also marking out sections that aren't going to give me a proper trajectory. Okay, I've finished marking up this snake animation, and you can see there's quite a lot of animation that's been taken out. Now, there's two good reasons for this. Obviously, we don't want the trash animation, as I said before, but now all of the poses that are marked as do not use, they are not going to be searched at runtime. So this is also an optimization because we're reducing the number of poses searched. Yes, we have all the poses in the database, we still need that, but they're not going to be searched at all in the lookup database. They're two separate things. So basically what you want to go through and is do this for pretty much everything. So that's for a snake. You go do it for the other ones. I'm not going to do that all on this tutorial video. It's just too much to do in a single video. Another one I'll show you is the walk to run acceleration and deceleration. So in this case, I'm going to call this do not use, and I'm going to mark this full section at the beginning as do not use because it's, you know, a bit trash animation there. Now remember, this is the run animation set. We're going to add walking later, but for now it's just for running. So when we're talking about accelerations and decelerations in the run animation set, you only want the animation that leads towards your set. So in this case, we're running. We want the accelerations from to running to be in this set. So any decelerations to walking, we're going to mark those out. And now I don't really want all this walking loop, but I do want the acceleration. So the acceleration starts here. So I'm going to mark do not use until this point. And then the acceleration starts. And then we get up to about full speed. We don't need that loop anymore. So let's get rid of that by marking it do not use. And of course the stop, we've got stops in other places that I paid more attention to while I was doing the mocap, so we'll get rid of these ones. This is also another walk to run, so it starts about here. So I'll move this all the way up to there because we don't want all that. We get the run, and that's probably enough there. And I think the rest of this animation is going to be walking. Now, I will see, so this is running to walk. Because it ends in a walk, it's not part of this animation set. So I'm going to just do not use this whole thing. Later on, we will use some tags to tell the system which are walking and which are running, and it can separate them that way. And then we'll probably remove this tag. But for now, we're just doing running. So that's the acceleration, deceleration done. The loop, we don't want to do not use tag this. This is perfectly fine. I actually don't like this this part of animation at all. It's these run steps. They have a value when you sort of move your animation, your trajectory, and then you let go a little bit. I'll leave them in for now, but this requires a lot of do not use tagging. I'll do one that's pretty easy. Let's do a plant, right? So the plant animation, so let's tag this up. Do not use. So the idea of this is not to go and tag everything up in this tutorial. The idea is to show enough examples so that you understand why I'm tagging these as do not use. So this is the run plant animation set. Now I have to make a decision. Do I want to use the start animations? Because for example, in this animation, the character takes a step first and then starts going. Maybe that's a bit unresponsive, so you need to make a decision. Do I want that start animation when I already have starts in run, start, stop, for example? It's up to you really. In this case, I am going to not use it because this is an animation set about plants. So plant and go. So I don't need all of this animation up until here. I'm going to do it about here. You could decide to go, okay, well, as soon as the last trajectory point starts turning, that's when I kind of want it to start. So about here. And then we end when the last trajectory point has sort of fully lengthened, or the acceleration, the character's a bit more upright standing, so maybe about here. So there we go. We have a section of animation here Quick pre-process. This is all do not use. This is searchable. And then we're do not use again here. And then we can go, okay, well, let's make this searchable. Now, what I've done in this case is I've decided, okay, as soon as the trajectory starts changing, it's going to be searchable. However, what I end up doing in the end for responsiveness is I end up cutting it to the point where the character actually starts changing their acceleration. So about here. The reason I do this is it forces the system to pick an emotion that's closer to actually turning. So I could even pick it about here. It's really up to you. If you have it back here, the character might take a few steps before turning. Just depends on how you weight things and calibrate things. So I'm going to do it like this. The character runs back here. And it starts changing about, yep, about here-ish. Okay. And we need all that motion. And now this last trajectory point started to get in line. Acceleration looks good. We'll tag that as do not use there. And here is when the character's pose starts moving from running straight into that 90-degree turn. Bang. Get all that. We're at full acceleration there. We can tag that. Pose starts changing about here. Bang. There's a 135 degree. I'll say about here. Now there's no hard and fast rules. Just think of it this way. If it's tagged as do not use, it cannot be chosen as a pose. So if you want that pose to be chosen in the animation, then make sure it's searchable. Okay, we keep going. And see, this is the end of the animation. It just cuts off. It's not very good. There's no plant there. Let's just drag this all the way to the end. Pre-process. So tags for all the tags apply both to both mirrored and non-mirrored versions of the animation, just so that you are aware. So you don't have to redo it. Okay, so that's plants. Now, I won't go through and do a whole nother one, but you have starts and stops. They're a bit more annoying. There's a lot more tags you have to do. Obviously, you're gonna do this at the beginning, get rid of that T-pose. This is a pretty good start animation, so I'm going to start it as soon as that foot starts moving. Let's put it there. We're off. Okay, now we have some looping. We're accelerated. Now, I think it's very important, and this is just my opinion, I think it's important that between the starts and the stops, you have some do not use, even if it's for a very short amount of time, just to break the flow. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna force this animation to search for another one. So say about here, we get to a do not use tag. If you're happy with that amount of acceleration, maybe you want it a little bit more. Let's go over to about here. They look like they're standing upright to me. And then the stop animation starts about, the pose starts changing about here. So this breaks the continuity, which can be a good thing, because what you're essentially doing is, okay, the animation's playing, the system is, you're holding down forward, the system's like, yep, this animation's good, I'm going to keep playing it. And then it hits a do not use pose and goes, oh, I have to find a new animation. And then it goes, and hopefully it finds the run loop neutral animation that we have. However, in this case, so hopefully that happens. If it doesn't, and you're using things like favor current pose and stuff like that, then there's a chance that it'll just keep playing this animation, and then you'll get this almost deceleration, and then it'll go, oh no, that's not right, and then it'll jump back to a loop, or something like that. So I find it very good to add these do not uses on the loops in between the starts and stops. Okay, so we're stopping here. We want all this. We want all this animation. Now here's a trick with the stops. I just want to show you this. Is make sure that the character has fully stopped, and I make it so that it doesn't go do not use until that last trajectory point is about on your character. So here, that's where I'm going to put that next do not use. We don't want this idle animation. Get rid of it. And we don't want anything up until the point where the character starts moving. So you see the character starts moving to do the turn. If you want to make it more snappy, you can actually cut off a bit of that, and that's fine. You're going to have to be careful with how much you do that. You're going to lose some quality, but I'm going to put it about here. And then we can go, that's our 180 start, and we get to about standing upright about here. And we mark out this section, and the character starts stopping from about this pose here. Done. Okay, I'm not going to go through and do the whole rest. You get the idea. I think I pretty much showed you the full extent of what you kind of need to do for do not use posing with mocap. I mean, there's other things like, okay, hang on. There's an animation here, run cycle. So I technically don't need this animation because it's just the run cycle and we've got the run loop, but I might use it for the stops. We'll leave it in for now. That's another story for another day. But what about the spirals? These can be a bit more tricky with do not use posing. Generally, you want to have do not use at the start as usual and at the end, because, well, at the end you're kind of just going to get to a stop, right? You can extrapolate it, but you've got so much animation here that you don't need to, so you might as well lock this up. What I tend to do in the case for these spirals is, if I feel like I've done, so you'll look here, the first circle and then the second circle seem to be about the same, so it's kind of a waste in my opinion. So let's get this one to about here, maybe there, for example, and then let's cut off the rest until it starts actually doing a different sort of radius. So it starts tightening up about here, so we can bring it back, etc., etc. You get the idea. So once you've pre-processed this, your database is going to be a lot smaller and things are going to play a lot better. I'll show you it right now. I've only done like a few, so it's really not going to be that much better. What I recommend you do is, if you get stuck in this process, is have a look at the example project one. So if I go to my characters here, motion matching, here's the one for the example project. And I have tagged up every single one of these. Don't worry about the next naturals for now, but you can see I've gone through and tagged these all up. This does take time, but it's worth it, and it's pretty straightforward. So I think for the end of this tutorial, I'm literally going to copy the tags from the example project and just delete everything that we aren't up to, just to save time, because I don't want to go through and tag all of these animations again. But and I'll be back in a sec and I'll show you the results after that. Okay, so there we have it. I have copied over the example project and deleted everything that we haven't done yet in the tutorial. So all the differences between what I was doing on the tutorial motion data and this one is it's got all the tags for every section. You can see, for example, this one has quite a lot of tags. And you only really want the good parts of the animation here. I will show you this quickly. I did this in... So I've got these animations, these run, turn, stops, where the character stops and is turned a different way. Now, these are really cool animations, but in order to have like gameplay control that uses these effectively, it can be quite difficult. So while I haven't removed them, I have just added another massive do not use tag to just not use the whole animation for now, and then maybe try and introduce them later. So let's pre-process that, and we should be able to hit play, and our animation should be significantly improved now. We shouldn't get any of those stops either. Yeah, this feels a lot better. We might want to tweak it so it's a little bit more responsive, but there's other things that we're going to do first that we need to do before worrying about that. So this is getting a lot better. Obviously, I could use a little bit of tweaking there. But yeah, this is a heck of a lot better than before. We haven't done cost multipliers or anything, so there we go. Now, interesting, we are getting stuck in the animation and not going to idle. We just need to increase the idle detection a little bit here, and that should be fine. Ground speed is greater than, let's make it 5. Okay, that's better. Of course, our feet switch to the other side. We're going to fix that later on by using a pose matching node so that it always picks the one with the correct side. All right, so that's it for DoNotUse tagging. This is going to be a very long step for a lot of people. And it is, once again, this is very important to understand how motion matching works. That'll help you know what to tag. Just remember, if you tag something as DoNotUse, it cannot be played. That animation will not be played. So if you want something to be played, don't accidentally tag it as DoNotUse. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.